All right, what's happening, friends? Welcome back for another episode of Waynecast. Joining me in the studio today is my friend Rachele Evers. Howdy.
Hi. I hope that's the camera I'm supposed to be looking
You
at.
got it.
Okay,
you nailed
good.
it. Host of AgentRx, also a realtor here in Livingston County. How's the podcast going?
Oh, good. I love it.
And you're a seasoned veteran. You're in the 60s.
We're in the 60s.
So it's not,
you got to do air quotes. Are you doing this?
no, they're all
Seasoned
posted
veteran.
now. They're all in there. It's all legit.
But where we started, it was just Cassandra and I recording our conversations.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, listening back to them, because I know, me and Julie have been going back through and listening to like the first 60 and whatnot, and largely her, but she, listening back, like that's what a podcast is supposed to be. And when we have people that come in, they have this idea that like, well, this is a television show. It needs to be super well produced and buttoned down and super serious. And it's like, that's not what people are going to watch.
No, I don't like that.
Yeah, and that's really interesting about your style is I feel more than most realtors that I know, you really exist to just be yourself and practice your craft just as you want, rather than what everyone else thinks you should do.
Yes.
Where does that come from?
While you were talking, I immediately thought of one of my earliest coaches that I hired, which was, I should plug him, is Ryan Stuman, of all people.
Where does he work out of?
He's out of Texas. He's
Okay.
like, oh boy, I don't even feel like I'm qualified to say what he is. And I also don't want this to be interpreted that I'm name dropping him for any reason other than he was the guy I fucking hired who taught me that it's okay to not be everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah.
And that the more of you bring to the table, the more you're going to attract clients who are going to want to work with you. So I do not have to, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't have to be someone I'm not to make my clients happy. I'm not neutral. I'm not vanilla. I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. In fact, my personality is so huge that I repel people that I should not be doing business with in the first place.
And that's a good thing, right?
Absolutely. But it was so hard for me to understand as a new agent. I was scared to scare away business.
That's a good point, because I know when we first started, it's the fear of losing something that
you don't actually have anyway, but...
Well, yeah, well, it's the fear of losing, I guess, the anticipation of we need revenue to build this thing.
Yes.
So when you're starting out, you get into this mindset of I need every client.
Yes.
And it's almost like a building block to when you get to the point where you're like, okay, now I don't need them.
Yes.
As much. Like you need the right clients now. I shouldn't say you don't need them. You need the right clients now.
Yeah. You get clear on that.
Yeah. And I guess what I've discovered is, as I've gone back for us, like the last 3 years, and I've looked at people that we worked with that we shouldn't have, had we not have worked with them, it would not have affected our business.
No. In fact, working with them might have slowed down your business.
Exactly.
Every time I get rid of a shit client, at least 2 really good ones show up in their space. So I can only imagine that the bandwidth that this horrible client who were just not a good fit, I'm not saying they're bad or I'm bad, it's just not working because we're not meant to work together, but we're forcing it.
Right.
That bandwidth is not available to the clients who should be working with me.
Yeah. Why do you think there's such a stigma around this professional facade that people feel like they need to put up in order to be successful in business?
We have to go back to the conversation we were having off air about marijuana, which I'd like to hash back through.
Sure.
Use the pun.
Nice.
Yay. Inherited conversations.
Yeah.
I think generational. I am obsessed right now with inherited generational cultural conversations.
Yeah.
So I come from a generation of people who believe that there is white collar work and blue collar work, and white collar work involves a suit and a tie and certain rules.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's in there somewhere.
Well, it's this idea that there's a protocol that you need to follow.
Yes.
Right? If you're in the professional services,
Yes.
even that umbrella category alone denotes that there's a certain quality that you must have to fit into that category.
Yes. A way to be in order to look the part or something.
Yeah, because that's kind of the built-in expectation that people have. And what I think people are realizing as we get into this era of transparency, and social media has really done a good job of airing that out, is that people really don't care as much about the facade. They care much more about what's behind that.
Yeah.
And the quicker they can see what's behind, that wall, we'll call it, the faster they are to attach or detach themselves to that business or idea or person or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, and as you're talking, I'm sitting here thinking of like, okay, so if I have X amount of energy and I'm going to put that into, like, any idiot can buy a beautiful suit and have their nails done and look a certain way and talk a certain way and be, I'm going to air quotes, professional,
Yeah.
right? And vanilla for the role. But what if I just took all of that energy and targeted it on writing good fucking contracts and caring about the language of my real estate contracts and advocating for my clients?
Yeah.
Sometimes that means I show up in sweatpants.
Yeah.
Or I use the F-bomb.
Sure.
But historically, professionally, that's a huge no-no.
Right. Well, it's this built-in idea that things need to be a certain way or else you're not a part of the club. Sorry, Rachel, you can't be in the club.
Yes.
Because you have a brand for real estate that doesn't match everybody else's.
Yeah, or the things that came before you.
Yep.
And back to your comment about social media. So now we can all just start our own damn club then.
Exactly. And that's what people are doing. They're doing their own thing. They're starting their own, that's a perfect way to put it. They're starting their own club that people can be in because it gives them the ability to represent themselves the best way that they know. And that's, and that's something I've really been focused on since I've started this endeavor is I don't care about how other people are doing it. Yep. I'm going to do it the way that I think is best, and the market will correct me.
Yes, I love that. How long? You've been doing this for 3 years, you said?
Yeah.
Love it. Do you love it?
I do love it. I love everything about this. I love, to me, business is a game. It's like we're playing chess.
Okay.
And I love learning new ways to approach things that give me a strategic advantage. And everything that I've found, the best strategic advantage that I have is being myself.
Yeah. Yes.
Is not putting anything out there for someone that's not true. Like the first year I did the business, I said, here's my financials. Here's how much money we made. Here's how many clients we lost. And
good for you for tracking those things.
Yeah, because they were important to me. They're all learning opportunities, right? Like we've taken jobs that we shouldn't have taken or that we weren't prepared to take, and we fumbled them and didn't do a good job. And all of that, if I'm going to pretend that didn't happen, I'm doing nothing but lying to myself and setting myself up for it to happen again.
Yes, or even worse, blaming the client. That's a big one in my industry. There's this like quick propensity to think that your client was a piece of shit when really like you probably could have upped your game.
Well, who controls the narrative in the professional relationship? The professional.
Yes.
And that you heard me on the phone. I mentioned the book Extreme Ownership, and
Yes.
that's the exact guideline for how I expect everyone here to operate.
Yeah.
Is we don't push blame. We don't, if we have a bad client, that is my fault for bringing them in.
Yeah. Well, and people, I'm going to slow this down a little bit because you just used a word fault and ownership. And I feel like there's a conflation of definitions.
Sure.
When you say things like, I like to use the word responsibility, extreme ownership, that language reflects responsibility. And at first blush, if you don't stop and think about it, you feel like, well, I'm not responsible for that. It's not my fault. But the reality is when you take responsibility, you have all the power.
Yeah.
And what a great place to sit, especially when something's going wrong.
100%. And that's what I feel like most people don't understand about this concept, because I sat my team down very early. We had a really big issue when we first opened Speakeasy.
This one? Because you have multiple, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just when we got into here, we were noticing just some differences in continuity of services, just because, you learn how you roll out things better. Yeah. And I said, this is 100% my fault. And even though the thing that happened was not something I did, it was my fault, because if I had a better procedure in place, we wouldn't be sitting here having this talk.
Yes. I just went through this with a client.
And someone spoke up and said, well, how is this your fault? This person did it. I said, it's my fault because it's my company. I assumed responsibility when I opened this and hired everybody, that everything that happens in these walls, whether I'm in Louisville, here, or even in Sterling Heights, it's my responsibility because I am the one who initiated all of this. And that's a very difficult concept for people to see. And what you just said is exactly the reason why it's so beneficial. When I assume control and when I assume ownership, I have ultimate delegation and responsibility to be able to fix that thing rather than finger pointing and playing the blame game.
It makes your mind do things it wouldn't otherwise do. If your narrative is, he's an idiot, he did it wrong, that guy fucked up, get him out of here, then your brain is not going to provide you any solutions to make sure that doesn't happen again. Right? When you're over there going, okay, I'm responsible for this.
Yeah.
Some magic starts to happen.
Yeah. And the other thing people miss is like, that doesn't mean that clients can't do wrong things.
Of course.
Those things can still happen. You can still acknowledge them. And it's I would say it's your responsibility to call those things out.
I was thinking that professional responsibility would be to call those things out.
And because you want a good climate. So like I remember very recently I sat down and we have, between 50 and 60 clients that we service between Wayne Media and Speakeasy. And I made a list of all of them. And I said, where do we have problems right now? Where are we having communication issues? Where are we having struggles? Where are we dropping the ball? Where are they dropping the ball? And the list was very short because we've done a really good job of the qualification process. But I went through the short list of 7 or 8 clients and I said, how can we fix these things? And we actively worked on fixing those things until those communication issues were resolved. Yeah. And that's so important to do that. But it's, again, something that you wouldn't think someone would openly talk about because that's typically a closed door conversation. But that's things that you need to be doing as a business owner, saying, where are we missing the mark? Where are they missing the mark? Because you get into this comfort rhythm where you feel like, well, no communication is happening and they're still paying and they're still doing this, so I can just kind of ignore responsibility. That's the moment before something really bad happens. Yeah. And it's your obligation as the owner to fix that.
Yes. Well, and if you don't, then you're also responsible for the other outcomes that could come out of not taking responsibility.
Right. Yeah.
Like ultimately the buck stops here anyway. You might as well be in front of the problems.
Right.
The rain.
Yeah, and you can control the narrative. If you can get in front of an issue, and getting in front of an issue is not like a political spin.
No.
It's you literally getting in front of it and saying, look, this is an issue that we've had. We own it. We're going to fix it.
Yes.
I wanted to let you know.
Yes. And the whole time that we're talking about this, in the back of my mind, I keep thinking, because again, obsessed with cultural conversations, like we are a product of the environment that we are in. And I think we are in a time of, at least nationally, a lot of self-reflection. And I almost wonder if what we're seeing is all of those tools, like you do self-work and it starts showing up everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of cool to be seeing it in business finally, right? I mean, we have companies right now that their goal is just to deliver the best customer satisfaction, not to make the most bottom line.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
And I think the reason why that is, it's twofold. One, people have finally stumbled on the idea that if you have good customer service, good customer retention, your business can grow faster because now you're not hemorrhaging cash.
Yes.
And having to make up for in additional sales.
And fighting and defending and becoming an enemy of your customers, which is strange. What a strange idea.
And it will just lead to a negative cycle of bad reviews, bad attention online. And it's just that cycle that keeps going, which is why people ultimately go out of business. And I firmly believe that people go out of business not because of a lack of revenue, but because of a lack of awareness for how well they treat their customer and how well they've structured their products or services. And that's a big failure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I have a question kind of from way earlier ago. You said Wayne Media and Speakeasy, they're different? Maybe all you people out there know this, but I did not.
No, so basically you look at Wayne Media. So Wayne Media is the company. That's what all the taxes are filed under. That's actually a DBA for Wayne Consulting Group. So I'll give a really quick abbreviated history.
I'm going to draw a diagram for myself.
Yes. So when I first started the company, I wanted to do largely consultative marketing.
Okay.
Doing the work for the business owner, but also guiding them through the process. So I was teaching them as I was doing the work.
Okay.
So to me, consulting made more sense as a business name. As we got into the first year, we were doing so much media and we wanted to expand into videography and podcasting. Consulting really didn't represent who we were as a company.
Okay.
So I did a DBA for Wayne Media Group, which is how we operate. Speakeasy Podcast Network is a product of Wayne Media.
So it's not another DBA or a separate company. It's the product.
It's a product of Wayne Media.
Oh. So what is the corporate entity for for Speakeasy Podcast Network? Is there one?
No, it's Wayne Media.
So is it just a branding?
Exactly.
Really?
It's a trademark brand.
Okay.
Yep.
I just learned a thing.
And then we did.
And I'm going to steal it, right?
I'll do it. No,
I could use that.
No,
I've
for
got
sure. Because that's. So I did it again just this, a few days ago. I launched a new service called Masterpiece Studios. So Masterpiece Podcast Studios is a completely online podcasting studio that people can log into from home. We do the equipment setup. We do the recommendations, the consultation.
You bring out the stuff?
We tell them what to order.
Okay, so you go buy this and I have a referral for you.
Perfect. So how it works is, so you and Cassandra, for example, so let's say you weren't in Brighton, you didn't have access to the Speakeasy.
Or I didn't want to leave my house.
Or you didn't want to leave your house.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm always like 15 minutes late for my own show.
That's not a big deal. It's not big. That's why you have such a long time to record.
It's hard totally for me to leave my house.
I understand. So, and that was the other thing too, is if something happens to where lockdowns happen, how do we hedge against that? And how do we offer a service that we can keep people going? Because podcasting is going to be ultimately important for corporations all the way down to SMBs.
For people who don't know what an SMB is.
Small business.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes, a small business.
I'm like the acronym annihilator.
I love it. Yeah. Hold me to that. Okay. So when you have anyone from a corporation down to a 2-person shop, podcasting is going to be the way that you control your narrative. In the next 5 years, if you don't have one, you're going to see a significant reduction in business because of it. Firmly believe that. So with Masterpiece, we've set up this studio where you can be at home, Cassandra can be at home. You guys both remote into the same platform. And the unique thing about it is all of your files are recorded locally. So they're not transmitted over the internet.
Okay.
Because that's where you lose your quality.
Yes.
That's when you get like the Zoom style quality.
So, and this is really speaking to my heart here, because when Cassandra and I started, we were literally live broadcasting our Zoom calls onto Facebook, and the quality really was not there. Like there were times where if my kids were watching a movie in the other room, you know how Zoom gets frozen, glitchy, audio quality is all over the place.
Yep.
So you take away all of those variables.
Exactly. And the files are recorded locally. And the winner for the podcaster is once they're done, they don't send us anything. The files automatically transmit to our engineer who is notified. They can grab the files individually and edit them down.
Like you're selling me on your other product right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's just another facet of what we do that we just started rolling out.
Love it. And
it's going to be bigger than Speakeasy. And the reason why is because Speakeasy is limited. There's only 25 spaces here. Yeah. We're at like 21 or 22.
Wow.
So there's only
congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. So there's only, let's say if we could probably finagle 5 to 7 more spaces, right? Because we have some people on bi-weekly, some people, it just depends.
Sure.
But like there's a finite amount of room here. In the cloud, we'll call it, get techie for a minute. There is no space. The only thing that I need is good people to manage those recordings. So, and I haven't had any trouble finding good people.
Exponential availability.
Yes, that's right.
Love it. And it really serves well that, current working climate is not to go somewhere. It's
right.
I mean, most people now have a pretty healthy home office set up.
Yeah.
It seems to me. In my little bubble of people. Lord knows I don't know what the whole world is doing.
Yeah. And I haven't announced this yet. I haven't even talked about it like to the team, but I just ordered I know it's brand new. So this is a top secret.
You heard it here first,
right?
folks.
Right. So I just ordered basically it's an audio interface, which is almost like a soundboard, but you can plug microphones like this into it and then plug it into your computer and do your podcast through that software that we're rolling out through Masterpiece.
Okay.
So you can have in person. So if you're, and the main thought of this is you have a corporation and you want to do a podcast with like the CEO and like 3 VPs, you can plug this interface into the platform and do your show without having to have a formal soundboard, an engineer present, because then we can take all of the raw files and edit them down.
you're almost speaking another language right now. I mean, I know the words you said and they make kind of sense, but I had no idea that shit was necessary anyway.
Well, the basic thing is like all these microphones that we're talking to right now are like XLR mics. So there's this XLR cable and it.
What is XLR?
I have no idea.
Okay. It's like is it a brand? Is it a metric or type of communication?
It's the type of cable.
Okay.
Yep. It's the type of cable. So it's usually any type of microphone that is, singing, vocal, anything that you're using is typically an XLR mic.
Okay.
The ones that I use, like for home podcasting, are USB mics, just USB like Yeti microphones. So with that, you have all of the XLR cables for like our setup are plugged into a preamp on our Rodecaster board, which like powers the microphone.
Amp being amplifier.
Yep. So it powers the microphone before it goes into the board. So all of that to say.
XLR mic is an analog microphone and is connected to a recording device or mixer via an XLR cable. So it is literally the cable.
Yeah.
Compatibility. Yep. All right.
I didn't know if there was an acronym. So that would have been interesting to know. I didn't think there was, but
I was hoping there was actually, but
kill another one.
Now I know.
Yeah. Kill another acronym. I'd be 2 down for the show. So
track.
Yeah, so all these are just powered through that preamp. So what we have is a device that can power these microphones on a table and plug into a computer.
So now you just brought the quality up.
Yes.
From the home. Do we need to send one of these to Cassandra?
No, I don't think so. Hers is great. Her audio is great.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But
no, she's good.
I'm tone deaf.
Because when you're using like a single USB mic, like I use my Yeti mic, like I've done voiceover work and stuff with that, and it's just as quality as these Shure microphones we're using.
Okay.
But 1, I know how to use it, and 2, I know like proximity, what the gain should be set at. But for your average,
the gain, you guys, he knows what the gain should be set
at. The gain, which is how much the microphone is picking up. Goodness. Okay. It's not an acronym, Rachel.
I know. I just, this is not the space that I live in.
Yeah. So with that, when you have a corporate environment, they can just plug it all into this device, plug it into their computer, press record, and then they're off and running.
Nice.
So we're just trying to think outside the box on like what different types of services can we roll out that'll fit into a lot of people.
Yeah.
And keep the way in which we're editing those tracks uniform on our end, so we're not creating multiple procedures for multiple podcasters.
Yes. I love it. And it makes doing this kind of work available to so many people who it otherwise would not be.
Right.
And probably makes it a little more affordable for people who might not have a budget for, a more fancy product, I guess.
Yeah. And the biggest thing is we're saving time. Like I fully believe that any professional out there can figure out how to do a podcast, edit it, it's not.
Yeah, but how much, then when are you going to sell houses if you're busy editing your own podcast?
And that's why the biggest thing we sell is time, because anyone can figure it out. It's just a matter of how does that fit into your strategy. And one of the clients we work with right now, they're saving like 25 hours a week on a person with everything that we're doing, which is almost a full-time employee, it's crazy. And that's just the time savings, not the ROI, not the new business, it's wild.
Yeah. So that's awesome.
But that's enough about me. I want to talk about,
we're going to come back.
Oh, we're coming back. Okay.
Later though, cause I need to take some more notes.
Gotcha. Well, I want to talk about how when you first started out in real estate, what was the mindset?
Honestly, the same as almost every other agent. It looks easy, and holy shit, that looks like a lot of money for hardly any work.
Yeah.
I don't know how far back you want me to go, but the story I tell has been boiled down to this. I bought a house and I saw that commission check and I was like, what the fuck did my agent even do for that money? Well, fast forward like 9 years. Now I know. And he was probably underpaid for the amount of bullshit that he had to do for free before we even got to the closing table, right? Yeah. But yeah, I thought it looked like easy money.
So how do real estate commissions work? So let's break this down for people because I feel like a lot of people don't understand. So let's say
Thank you. Can I hold on? I got to stop you and thank you for this because this is a part of my listing presentation that I make my sellers listen to and nobody freaking knows how it works.
Yeah.
So now I also make my buyers listen to it.
Good.
And I have opinions.
So we'll pull this out as a clip.
Yeah.
And we'll use it because I think it's really important. So I'll give you a scenario. You tell me how it works.
Okay.
I buy a house.
How much is the house you're buying?
The house is 200. We'll make it simple. It's $300,000.
$300,000 house. I love it. That's my average sale price.
And you are just the buyer's agent.
That's it. I'm just the.
You're not. I listed it with somebody else. You showed it to.
Wait a minute. You're buying.
Hold on. Let me back up. I'm buying the house.
Somebody else is the listing agent.
Yes.
Sure.
For $300,000.
Sure.
You showed me 100
Let's
houses.
say it's I showed you.
I liked this one.
Yeah.
And we won.
And you won.
At 300.
Yeah. Good job.
No concessions.
It must be a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, no basement, on a
slab,
0.2 acres.
It's a condo. Yeah. All right. So 300K.
Yes.
You took the time to show my wife and I the houses.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And we settled on a house for 300, and offer was accepted.
Yep. We wrote your offer.
Yep.
So how do I get paid? That's what you want to know, I presume, right?
That's right.
So first I'm going to start by dispelling a myth, because a lot of agents, like literally every newly minted agent and plenty that have been in this business for years, will prospect you as a buyer and say, you get my services for free. You might as well hire me as your agent. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. I call bullshit. That is a load of hooey. It's a load of hooey, I tell you. And it's outrageous, because the reality of the situation is that when I list a property for sale, when I'm representing a seller, I'll come back to your example where I'm representing you as a buyer,
sure,
but it's almost easier to understand from the other side.
Okay. When
I represent a seller, I negotiate with them X rate. And part of my contract says, in my efforts to market your house, I'm also going to advertise compensation to a buyer brokerage so that other brokerages with agents that have other buyers that are not my buyers will also come show your house, because we're going to offer to compensate them. So a good example, I take a listing and I negotiate an 8% commission. I advertise 3% of that commission to go to a buyer's agent, and it doesn't go to the agent. So we get really sloppy with language in this industry.
Oh, yes.
Talking about the agent gets paid. The fucking agent doesn't get paid. Agents can only be paid by the brokerage. The brokerage gets paid.
Yep.
So in your $300,000 example, the listing brokerage is, I need names. So let's.
Let me. Yes. So my mom is a realtor.
Okay.
Right? She's been doing it for 25, 30 years. So all my real estate knowledge came from her, because she broke down how commissions work between agents and brokers, buyers and sellers, agents, all that jazz.
Yes.
So that's probably the industry I know the most about.
Yeah.
So let's just say you have Coldwell Banker.
Yep.
Right.
As the listing brokerage.
The listing brokerage.
And their agent is Mary Smith.
Yep. And
Good.
yep. And then we'll just use you, AgentRx,
Yep.
is representing the buyer side.
Yep. And that's a team name. We are held under Keller Williams Living here
Yep.
in Brighton.
Yep. So KW Living is the
daycare.
is the broker.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So Coldwell Banker has negotiated whatever they've negotiated with the seller. I have no idea what that is. They could be charging 20% to sell that house. Don't know. If I go look in the MLS, I can see that they are advertising compensation to the buyer brokerage, to whoever shows up with a buyer that consummates the sale. That means gets to closing. That's the only way anybody gets paid. So Coldwell Banker pays Keller Williams. In reality, the title company disperses Coldwell Banker their money, Keller Williams their money, and then Keller Williams, who got paid whatever the advertised rate was in the MLS, takes their percentage and their fees, and then they pay me. Yep. I got to finish this, though. Yep. So the most important part about this on the buy side is you did not get anything from me for free, because I am a strong proponent of doing the whole fucking equation. So though you didn't pay my brokerage directly, that seller wouldn't have a dime to give anybody if you didn't show up with a mortgage and or your money to buy the house. I advocate that the cost of agency is borne by the transaction if it was sold on the MLS, on the open market, because all of that data in the MLS is data supported by agent represented sales. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
100%.
Okay, good.
So what you're saying, just kind of
simplify
summarize
it.
To summarize it, is because the only way that transaction would have been fulfilled is the person that came to the table with cash, whether it was from their pocket or the mortgage company.
Yes.
So that side that negotiated that part of the deal ought to be compensated.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, it's funny because some of these elements of a real estate transaction happen in what seems like out of order. Because when you hired me at the beginning, before I showed you 100 houses, you signed a piece of paper saying that I charge X for my services. And you agree that I will get paid X for my services. And if for some reason you buy a property that is advertising payment of Y, you can be on the hook for the X. Or alternatively, if you hire me for X and you end up going to the door of the seller directly and saying, hey, fire your agent, sell me your house directly, give it to me for a deal, we'll both save a ton of money. Well, guess what? My broker could come after you for the X. Like, ultimately, the buyer is on the hook, theoretically, for the money.
Yeah. And I feel like that is a fairly new development because when
in Michigan,
yes,
20 plus years ago ish.
Well, the reason why I say that is because I know a lot of buyers agents that do not operate on the law of that, what you just explained.
How do they operate?
They don't have buyer's agreements.
So they do not get paid if you do not have a buyer's agreement and a disclosure.
So let me back up.
Well, I should say it depends because I can advertise compensation for buyer's agents, sub-agents, and transaction coordinators. If I'm not advertising to pay all three of those roles, my brokerage does not have to pay you.
Right. So I guess what I'm saying is that level of detail where you're saying if I don't get this amount, then you're responsible for the... That's what I mean.
I don't enforce that usually either. But let me give you a snapshot of conversation I have with my buyers when it comes to that part of the buyer's agency contract.
Yeah.
So there are discount brokerages that will advertise like $1 compensation to a buyer broker. I've never actually closed one of those deals. However, the conversation I have with my buyers is, look, this is what I charge to represent you as a buyer. Look, let's go to the MLS, and here is all the buyer agency compensation. For the most part, it's within 0.5% of what I charge. So I will agree up front to take whatever they're advertising unless it's outside of these parameters because I fucking can't work for $1. I just can't, and I won't. But I don't know which house you're going to fall in love with, and if that house is advertising $1 of compensation, we're going to have the conversation about my compensation before we write the offer on the property because I have a fiduciary obligation to look out for you as the buyer, your best interest, not my pocketbook, right. Not what I want you to do. I'm not going to tell you to buy a different house. That's a side topic, but there are agents who will fucking steer their clients away from low-paying properties, which is bullshit. But we're going to talk about how we can either bake my compensation into the offer you're writing, or we're going to talk about how, if it makes sense, if this house is that kind of a deal, because you may be able to buy that house solely because all the other agents are steering their clients away from it. I hate to say that, but that's a very real possibility. It may make sense for you to pay my brokerage directly.
Sure.
Because I have a contract with you that you agree that I make 3.5% off the purchase price of whatever you make. I've showed you 100 houses. $1 doesn't do it, and you know that. So we figure out another way. I'm so far into the weeds.
No, you're fine. I think this kind of this makes my point of it's complicated for people to understand because of the traditional thinking. Yeah. When you say, well, if you ask the common person, how does it work? Yeah. The listing agent would get 6%. Yeah. Would distribute 3% to the buyer.
Most people think it's 6% to the listing agent and then another 3% to the buyer's agent. It blows my mind.
Yeah. Because they wonder, well, where does that commission come from? Well, it comes from the sale of that home. Yes. And it's typically what the standard answer is 3% to the buyer. And the seller maintains 3%, and then the brokerage and the agent split that up, so it's 1.5% to each.
So none of that's true, right. Including the word standard.
Exactly.
It's always negotiable, and real estate is so regionally dictated. It's almost annoying because in certain parts of our state, you tend to see trends for advertised compensation, and those change with market fluctuations. Ultimately, brokerages determine what they charge. Your agent doesn't get to pick what they charge you. That's another funny one.
Well, how often do you hear that 6% split down by 3 and 1.5? It's super common. People are at least for me, people are articulating it, like people that are people not in the real estate industry.
Yeah, they think whatever. It's not. But I run in circles outside of Southeast Michigan. So 6% isn't always. It's not always that. Sometimes it's 8. Sometimes it's 10. Sometimes it's 5. Sometimes it's 4. I mean, but yes, whatever it is, people think you split, and that's it.
Yeah,
and that's not true.
All right. So back to my example.
Yes.
$300K.
Yes. You want to know how much I'm making? That's what we're doing. I have a diagram that I draw for this. I'm not even kidding you. It's probably not going to show up if I draw it on my paper and show it to you, so I won't do that. But it's basically, can we use $100,000? Because I'm not math.
Let's use 100.
So let's imagine that you're buying $100,000 house.
So I bought a shack.
Yes, it doesn't even exist in Livingston County.
Right.
No, you are in the UP right now, buddy.
Yes.
So $100,000.
Escanaba.
And you negotiated, let's say you negotiated a 5% listing commission. You are a hard baller, and then, you expected they come in saying they're going to charge 7. You're like, no, blah, blah, blah. Listing brokerage is doing it for 5%. Their listing brokerage is keeping 2%. We wouldn't know this. And they're advertising 3% to pay the buyer brokerage. So that would be, if I'm representing you buying this $100,000 property, that's $3,000, right? They're advertising 3%. We closed at $100,000. $3,000 goes to my brokerage that holds my license. Out of that $3,000, it depends what my agreement is with my brokerage, how much of that they keep before they pay me. So newly minted agents, very common for you to be on a 50-50 split. You know why? Because you're likely to fail and get out of the business, and the broker needs to make some money off of you. Not like they're vultures making money off of you. You got a lot of questions. You require a lot of support. So on a 50-50 split, that $3,000 goes $1,500 to your brokerage and $1,500 to the newly minted agent. But wait, the brokerage has some franchise fees. Those get deducted, whatever they are. Let's say that's another $300. And but wait, there's more. You have errors and omissions insurance. You have to pay, depending on your arrangement with your brokerage, either out of your first deal in full, or very common in our area is $25 per side per transaction.
Is that in perpetuity or until it's paid off?
It depends on the brokerage you work for. I cannot stress this enough.
Sure.
And
so it's an open market. It's like a game of Pong. Sure.
There are fences, but there's all kinds of weird bullshit in between.
You have the guardrails, but you can operate anywhere in those guardrails.
Yes. So what are we down to right now? Because we're almost at the end of this.
Well, if it was the $25, currently your commission would be $11.75.
So out of that $11.75, that comes to Rachel.
Yep.
Now I showed you 100 houses. Let's just, for math, say that was $300 in gas. No, let's say it was only $75. We'll get down to $1,100.
Okay.
So I just made $1,100. Now, if I only did one deal a year, I had my MLS dues that I had to pay. You can't access properties to show you without access to the MLS, which, by the way, you can't access the MLS unless you are a member of a board, which in order to be a member of a board, you must become a realtor. Even though the state says you're a licensed agent, you can't really get into the sandbox unless you pay to be a realtor. It's very mafia-like. So I had to pay to play all the way. And I mean, let's imagine my Con Ed is free. So now let's say amortized out, that averages out to $100, which it's more usually unless you're a very high volume producer. I have $1,000 and I have to pay taxes out of the $1,000.
33%.
I mean, depending
when you look at federal, state, self-employment, all that jazz.
Let's say I'm poor and I don't pay taxes.
Right.
Then I'm not doing enough business to stay in business. So that's dumb. So now we go to the other side where I'm super successful, I'm profitable, and you're right, I'm paying 33%.
Yeah, the rule for
and I have no 401k, I have no health insurance, I have no paid time off.
Yep.
None of that exists.
Yeah.
And I'm not bitching. I'm really good at this. I make a lot of money doing it, but it is expensive in more ways than money.
Well, I think that's what people forget is when you look at this particular industry, because you're right. People say, I had a friend recently call me and say, hey, I'm leaving this industry and I'm going into real estate. What do you think? I said, I don't think it's right for you. I don't think you're the right person for that.
Ooh, that's a hard thing to say to somebody.
It is, but when you have, like, this is a friend, and they asked my advice. If it was they asked me, what do I think? Yeah. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I was gentle about it. But I said, I don't think it's for you, because it's such a scale up industry, and you're not going to have the time.
Yeah.
And they listened and they said, you're right. I'm going to stay on this path. And I think that's the best thing for them, because when you look at the market and you say, what does it take to be a successful realtor?
Yeah.
Well, the turnover is so high.
It's a revolving door.
Yes. And that was my biggest fear, is like, if you're not in it, if you don't breathe it, if it's not a part of what you want, if real estate is not going to be your thing, you're the real estate guy at the party,
yes,
that's not for you then.
No.
It's not something you should do, because it takes so much money to start. It takes so much money to get through, like, that first
3 years.
The first jumping off point. It's almost like you need to dual wield. And when you're dual wielding and you have something else that you're doing in addition to that, you can't be that successful at the real estate.
Yep.
So, when they were looking to jump off, it was very much like, yes, I'm going to do it. And I was like, you should really think about it, and they might change their mind. They might go back to it, but it's not for everybody. And it's not as simple to make money as people think.
Right. Well, and it's, all of these things that I've talked about so far, I had no idea when I started. But what I did have was a passion for it. So to your earlier comment, if this is like their dream, don't chase your dream. You've got one shot. You're going to be dead someday. If your fucking dream is to be a real estate agent, get the license. Do the things, because that will get you further than intellectualizing and saying, well, if I do 12 deals and and do this math and then I can work part-time, and then you should maybe just sell Tupperware or something else as your side hustle.
Right. Because that's the common thought, is, I can do this part-time and make 20, 30, 40 grand a year. And it's like, I'm sure they do. I'm sure some people have mastered that.
Yes.
My suspicion, though, is that's people that did it full-time for a very long time, became successful with their process, and cut down to part-time.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
Well, and also, like, there's always an outlier.
Sure.
So my sister and I were just talking about this on our last episode, just the volume of licensees. So there are so many people with real estate license. You guys, they're cheap and easy to get. I mean, if you want, can I just take a little rabbit trail here for a second?
Do.
I have this advice for everybody. If you want to make money doing real estate, but you don't want to fucking learn it as your main career, go get a real estate license. They're super cheap and easy to get. Like, a monkey can almost get a real estate license in the state of Michigan. And then find all your friends and family who need to buy or sell homes and refer them to good agents who do this full time. Because I can pay you a referral fee because you have a license held at a brokerage. It's literally the only place money can flow like that in real estate, but it will probably make you more money than getting a license and learning the business and selling houses on the side. I'm like looking at the camera. It's super important.
Oh, it's fine. No, that's good. Address the studio audience.
I know, right?
Yeah, you told me that when we first started going through all the podcasting stuff. You mentioned the referral side, which I had no idea of, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I can't tell you. I have a gigantic family, and so many of my family members have called me after they're already well in bed with a bad real estate agent and asked me for help with their contracts or their bullshit, or the house has a weird thing or whatever. And I'm like, why didn't you fucking call me? I could have referred you and been getting paid to help clean up this bullshit, which you wouldn't have had because I would have plugged you into a good agent. Yeah. But Yeah.
Well, it's that thing
But
that you
people
don't
don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah.
When we bought our first house, we were in the same boat. We were just like, hey, this agent is on the side of Zillow, and my mom
Yes.
is 2.5 hours away, and there's no way that she can drive to show houses and all that jazz. So,
Dude, I think they keep it a secret because they're ashamed, or they feel weird about it, or they feel like it has to be a secret. I shout it from the rooftops. If you have an agent that you know, like, and trust, and they're not in the market that you're buying in, fucking call them. They can guide you to somebody good, and you're not, we all want to support friends and family, right? I feel like if I'm buying tchotchkes, I'm going to buy them from my sister who sells tchotchkes before I'm going to buy them from Rando.
sure.
Anyway.
No, that makes sense, and it's another aspect of this real estate game that people are just unaware of.
Yeah.
So, commissions are complicated.
Yeah,
is the
more
bottom
complicated than you think.
It's not as simple as saying it's a $300,000 house at 6%. That's 18 grand. It's split 50-50, 50-50. So my agent's walking away with 4,500.
Right.
Got it.
Right. Well, and most people don't even get to that. They see the 18 and they go, 18 grand. Wow.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what I did.
Yeah. I would imagine that's probably the biggest draw. And that's one of the reasons people look to commission sales, because if you're very good at selling and you're good at making people feel comfortable, you can do really well.
Yeah.
But along that path, there's going to be a process that you're going to need to figure out in order to maintain what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you're going to be another statistic, and which is why a majority of the realtors turn over.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I didn't want to do it, but
I know you didn't. I saved you from having to do it. So
thank you.
But that's the reason why they turn over, is because they don't have the process in place, or they didn't look at the failures that they had and examine where they could have done better.
I feel like it's a lot like, I think of like Edward Jones or Primerica or some other insurance sales. Like, you go, you think you're going to have this big book of business. Everybody's got a family member or a friend who needs the product that they're about to start selling. And you do those two deals, you realize that you can't, it's not sustainable. It's not for you.
Yeah.
And then you get out.
Right. And that's the thing, is what happens when your friends and family stop being a part of your business because they either A, can't afford it, or B, they don't fit into what you do.
A lot of family doesn't want to do business with you. That was a hard one for me to learn.
Yeah.
A lot of my family doesn't want me as their agent, which, I mean, lots of emotions around that. One, just being personally offended, but then two, wondering why. And, I had to go through a lot of, we're going to bring this full circle, but I had to do a lot of self-work to realize that I am not a fit for everybody, and that includes my friends and family.
Right.
And it's not in an offensive way. It's not because I'm bad at it, but maybe they don't want me to know some of their circumstances. That's totally fair. It's not my business. Just because I have an agent or I have a license and we're related doesn't mean that I earned your business.
Right. Yeah, and that's when I first started, I was thinking about, you think about all the different avenues that you could play into and the family that you could contact that have businesses and things like that. And that was always something for me that I wanted to stay away from that as much as possible.
So do you have friends and family that were friends and obviously family first that use your services?
I do.
Okay. So how is that?
Good.
Is it?
It is good.
And did you prospect them, or they saw you doing it and they were like, they called you?
They called me.
Yeah. That's the best.
Yeah, they basically just said, I want to have a meeting to talk about what we're doing. We're working with this marketing company right now. Not a fan. What can you guys do? And then we started small and kind of proved our worth and scaled up. And that was.
So what other marketing stuff do you guys do?
So for us, our we'll see. Yeah, start writing. Referrals are going to start rolling in. So what we do is it's social media. So all the social media management. Advertising on social media, Google ads, copywriting, which is blog writing, content writing, website content, which plays into website design and development. And then we also do everything on the podcasting side. So
So it's not the package that I'm buying does, because you guys do some of my social media stuff, but I don't think you run any ads, and we don't do any Google stuff, do we?
We do not.
Okay, that would be me hiring your other company or buying a different product.
From Wayne Media.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes.
Just came full circle.
Yep.
I get it.
Yeah, so and a lot of it is just recommendation, because when I first started out, like I was like, okay, what's the hook going to be for people to actually want to care about what a marketing company is doing? Because quite honestly, everyone is so tired of marketing companies. I fully understand everyone's burnout, which is why I thought Speakeasy was such a unique concept, because I can talk to businesses about podcasting, audio, how podcasting is going to change SEO. And it's a unique angle that they haven't heard, because no one's focusing on podcasting as an agency service.
Yeah.
So it's almost like this mechanism that we have that's a legitimate service that people love and stay with, that makes us attractive to corporations or businesses, because we're not talking about social media and SEO.
Yeah. Are you sick of talking about Facebook? Like, oh my God.
I mean, Facebook is my favorite social media platform.
Yeah. How old are you?
31.
Okay.
So
I think 30 and under is the no Facebook crowd.
Yeah. And they're going to be the Facebook crowd in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Because of what Facebook's going to be rolling out with their.
We meant to say Meta. Sorry.
Yeah. Meta. Yeah. So when you look at Facebook, you look at a company that is never afraid to change, and they're never afraid to roll out new services, which is why what they're doing with podcasting, having podcasting directly on feed now. They're doing more with Reels to take advantage of the crowd that's on TikTok and Instagram.
Can you help me understand Reels? I'm going to show you how old lady I am about this. Like, what the fuck? Like, I do one, but in stories, like, stories are short-lived. So do they have to be consistent, cohesive? Like, help. Yeah.
So let's take stories on Instagram.
Yes. Right?
So you can save stories to your profile on Instagram as blocks. I think you can save like 5 or 6 of them, so they can live there forever. So let's say you could have a block that says buyers, a block that says sellers, a block that says whatever.
So wait, I could put together like couple little videos that are like in order. Let's say my buyer block has 5 posts, 5 elements.
Yep.
And that's it. And those live there.
They can live on that profile. People can click that circle, and they can watch those stories.
No shit.
And I'm 95% sure I'm right. I'm sure the creative team's going to fact check me.
I mean, I need this.
Yeah. And so
now these are stories.
Yep.
Now, what are Reels?
So Reels are more so on the video side. So it's what people are going to be scrolling through on the app.
It's like the TikTok competition.
It's exactly right. And Facebook has done the same thing. Obviously, Facebook owns Insta. So Facebook's done the same thing, where they're now integrating this Reel type platform into their system as well.
So have you gotten hooked by the Reels yet?
Yeah. So I'm a big basketball fan. So a lot of my Reels are like old NBA games, or, interesting stories about NBA players.
I need to intentionally go get served some different material, because I get Reels where like people are I watched this guy, and I can't believe I watched it. He was painting a car on a laptop, and it was like 7 fucking minutes where he's like not showing you the final product.
Yeah.
Like, how annoying. And then people do dumb stuff that they don't finish. Like, why am I watching this?
Yeah, and my new favorite social media trend, not to get off how Reels work, but so I started to write something about this, and I was like, you know what? It'll be a Waynecast episode, so we'll talk about it now.
Perfect.
But there's this trend that's going on where there's these couple pages on Facebook. So it'll be like Jake and Andrea's, marriage, life, or whatever. And that's the name of the page.
Yes.
And then they make all these really dumb videos that don't go mainstream, and they recognize that they don't. So in order to make them go mainstream, they post things like, there are only 2 words in the English dictionary that have 2 E's in them. Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
And then million comments happen, right? And
so now you're getting engagement, even though it's fraudulent.
And and those people are then going and watching the videos, and they're trying to grow their channel through these really dumb, ignorant looking posts.
And it'll trigger you to be pissed off enough to say something in the comments, which is engagement.
Exactly. And the video game developers do the same thing, at least mobile developers. So they'll have a game, and the screenshot of the game will have the player doing the wrong things. So people will comment, it gets more organic share, and then people will download it to show that they're better than the idiot.
Now, how can I leverage this? I need this leverage.
No, you don't.
But I don't want, that's just it. I don't want that kind of activity.
Right.
But I want the eyeballs.
Right.
Oh, it's so weird.
Yeah. But those are the things that people are doing to try and get them in
to become relevant.
Yes.
Significance. I've done a lot of Tony Robbins, and significance is like the driver of humans. So what would you use a reel for? Sorry.
Yeah. So for me, I would use a reel to like preview a podcast. I would use a reel, and this is happening a lot on TikTok, and it's becoming a really popular trend, is people are giving like 90 seconds of a podcast. And then
can we do that with my podcast?
We haven't really fixed the TikTok distribution, because like for us,
can we do it in reels though? My target audience is not on TikTok.
You don't know, maybe.
Well, I should advertise there so that when they start hitting that age bracket of first-time home buyer, they're already familiar with me, but baby steps.
Right. I'm convinced that TikTok will be obsolete the same way Vine was, because the major platforms like Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook are all doing reels, and it's much more community driven, and it's a lot less seedy, we'll call it.
That's a very good adjective for
the
TikTok ecosystem.
So I would use it to preview podcasts, and 90 seconds. Like, here's the guest I had. Here's something.
So does that mean we can figure out a way to do it?
We can. But the problem that we've had
make you say this publicly.
The problem that we've had is API issues. So just publicly talking about
what is API again?
So I don't know. But an API is a way that applications are integrated together.
Yeah, I think that's application interface or
I've
integration.
I've looked it up a billion times, but I can never remember.
Well, what does it do? An API is plugging one thing into
application programming interface.
Yeah.
So
this program talks to that one.
Exactly.
Or feeds information to it.
Yeah. The problem is Instagram is very limited on what APIs they allow from social media scheduling platforms.
So the answer is there. It's just not one that you can plug and play. You have to have a person take the product, upload it to the thing.
Yeah. Because then we'd have all of our creatives having a cell phone that's not theirs, that they have all their social media accounts for our clients on, and they're manually doing that process, which slows down our scalability.
Yep.
And also adds in the human element of, well, you have 10 Instagram accounts on your phone, which I think is the most you can have. Are you certain you're posting it to the right one?
Right.
Is
there a way that you could build the file and like send it to, I'm using me as an example, and I'm literally just trying to troubleshoot this. Yeah. I probably can't afford this, but could you build the thing, send it to me, and I put it up? Yeah. Because I could do the last mile. It's building the thing that I don't have time to do.
Absolutely.
That might be a way to do it. I mean, I don't know if that solves the problem for
someone like you, it would solve the problem. To be quite honest, I think the majority of the people that use our services like it because it's all scheduled out and planned for them. They don't want to mess with downloading a file from Dropbox, uploading it to Instagram, putting it in their reels. I feel like the common response would be like, that's what we pay you guys for.
Oh, well, I mean, maybe this is an opportunity for a new product. I don't know.
I don't disagree.
But I'm going to make you figure it out with me.
I don't disagree at all. I got to
figure out reels.
Because it's important. And as we continue to grow like the speakeasy side of our content, I'm fully convinced that the majority of the content we do at Wayne Media is going to be for podcasting by like 2023. It's
not very far away,
It's not at all. I think by next year, we're going to see a tremendous shift to where the majority of what we produce creatively is going to be for podcasts.
Okay.
It'll still be for businesses. It'll still be videos. It'll still be websites. But the majority is going to be around a corporation's podcast.
Yeah.
That's what I'm excited about.
So I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. Who's your ideal client? Like if you're picking the cherry, and no pressure, I'm not saying this for any other reason than I'm legitimately curious. Like who is your ideal client?
You want names or do you want characteristics?
No, characteristics, yes.
Yeah. So when I look at an ideal client for us, I'm looking at someone that has either the ability to delegate communication to a person on their team to us. So that communication angle is super important. They have a vested interest in being collaborative on what happens on their social media. And then they have a desire to be consulted on what ought to happen with the digital strategy for their business. So like the 3 C's that we look at are consultative, collaborative, communicative. If a client can check all 3 of those boxes, then they're probably a really good fit for us.
So do you care at all if it's a company or let's say there's some video game guy out there who wants to just do a podcast about his favorite Nintendo game. This is so not my space.
Well,
so
say they want to do
reaching.
like Nintendo Switch podcast where
Yes.
they talk about all the new games
Yes.
that are coming out.
This is my son. Like this is your.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep up here, but yes.
Yeah.
Nintendo
So
Switch.
the biggest thing is there longevity in what they're doing? Because one, I don't want people to waste their money either.
Right.
Like I've told people that have wanted to write us checks for services, not a good idea.
Yeah.
Please don't waste your money and don't go to somebody else to ask them
But
for
what if
it.
they know? What if they are like, I just want to do 12 episodes about the Nintendo Switch because people really need to hear this
Yeah.
message?
Yeah, I'm down then.
Okay.
If there's like the biggest thing is there a why behind the service? I'll give you an example. I had a company call me and they said, hey, we want to produce a video for our website. I was like, great. So we can totally do that. What does the video need to be? And they gave us all the specs and it was all things that we could do. And I said, okay, what's the video for? I said, for our website. And I said, no, I understand that, but what's the end goal of the video? Someone goes to your website, they watch the video, they do what? I'm like, we don't know. We just want the video. And I said, well, I'm sorry, we can't do that because I don't want you coming back at me and saying, well, this isn't working when we don't have an objective for
Right.
the asset.
It's like not having a call to action.
Right. And if you don't have an objective for the asset that we're creating, you're wasting your money.
Yeah.
And
That's too bad because like their outcome could have been like, we just want people to know who we are.
Yeah, it can be general awareness. It can be like, hey, we want a stronger presence, But then when you ask, are you directing any traffic towards your website? It's no.
Yeah. I'm famous for that.
So 48 people are going to see this thing that you just spent $5,000 on. And is that the best use of your money right now?
So you guys do videos too?
Yes.
Do you guys do photography?
Yep.
I have to do a photo shoot. I've got all these notes that basically say, how can I give you more money? How
Right.
can I give you more money?
Right.
Would you like some more of my money?
Yes.
Okay. We'll talk.
No, but that's the whole point is like when I built this, I wanted it to be all in-house, all collaborative, a one-stop shop that wasn't outsourced to 15 different companies to get
It's
it done.
really unwieldy when you're trying to build a machine with too many different independent departments. It
Yes.
starts to look like a real estate transaction. Sorry.
You're not wrong.
Just kind of came full
then,
circle right
no,
there.
it is. And then you lose control. You lose quality control, which is a huge factor in longevity and scaling for small businesses, is when you don't have control over the quality of what you're putting out.
Well, and you lose your consistency of brand. Like the
Exactly.
narrative gets very fractured. If you saw Schitt's Creek and David's like, it's not on brand or
Yes.
whatever, I'm like, oh, he's right. I knew exactly what he meant.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that is one thing that we struggle with because we have Wayne Media, we have Speakeasy. They're two very different brands,
Yes,
but
for sure.
but they're easy to delineate in my mind because one is heavy podcasting and one is heavy media.
Yeah. Well, in your earlier explanation of how one is a product of the other
Yeah.
means they talk to each other seamlessly.
Right. And that gives me the ability to have, if you're a Wayne Media employee, which everybody is, but we have some employees that are only on the Speakeasy side.
Mm-hmm.
Like Johnny, for example, he's only Speakeasy. Like he doesn't, he's not doing graphic design and websites and things like that. But whereas Chris, who's our web developer, he's only Wayne Media. So there's departments, but
Yeah.
they all talk to each other. And that's super important.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot. And I feel like we just barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
Can I ask why you came to Brighton?
Yeah, of course. So when my wife and I were in Lansing, so that's where we got married, moved to Lansing. I was in Lansing. She moved to Lansing when we got married. And we would come out to Brighton on like date nights and whatnot because the downtown area is nice. The restaurants are pretty good. So we'd go on date nights. We'd walk around the town. One night I was walking up Main Street and I was like, I have this idea for this business. I really want to put my business in downtown Brighton because the foot traffic seems good. The traffic, as far as the vehicle movement, doesn't seem like it's overwhelming like a bigger city. Yeah. And it's close to everything. It's a hub city in my mind. It's close to Detroit, close to Ann Arbor.
It is. That intersection of 23 and 96 is
Right.
like,
So to me, it made the most sense to put it here. And the idea that I had for scaling didn't require a giant populace to get it done.
mm-hmm.
So it just seemed like a home run idea.
So what did you do before this? If
So-
you're walking around Brighton, living in Lansing, dreaming of a podcast
Yeah.
company.
So from 2012 until 2019, I worked at a company called Jackson National Life, and I worked in we'll call it,
Insurance sales?
I didn't do insurance sales, so I did IT, but the IT wasn't like help desk or like customer support or things like that. It was data movement for their physical volumes. So they had like these data cartridges that were like a brick of data tape reels.
Really?
That all of the company's data was written to, and it needed to be transported between their data centers.
So hold on, you had to physically run this brick from a building to a building?
Yes.
To do what? Make copies?
Well, to make sure that the offsite volumes went to the offsite in case the primary location burned down. Am I getting this right, Johnny?
Yes. Yeah, it's more of everything that was at one data center was duplicated at a second data center via a line, right? But in case one data center became a smoking hole in the ground, we always wanted to have the data at the other site, not only on disk, but in tape format, so that we could take that and go to Texas, go wherever we wanted to, and build another data center with that data from those tapes.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
That is like,
Yeah, and there was roughly, like 75,000, right, volumes.
it's not even that long ago, but that sounds so old timey.
It's a lot of companies still do it, right? And when you look at, the amount of tape data and stuff like that. So yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, it's much cheaper than clouding it, right?
I mean, I believe you. Yes.
Yeah, it is, because we did the cost estimates.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a job that was primarily focused on making sure all of that was organized. It was documented properly and maintained, so we didn't lose any of them. If we lost one, that's like a nightmare scenario.
I bet.
So
Unless you had one copy somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. That does not sound very sexy at all.
no, it was fun though. Like I enjoyed it. It was a good job, good people.
Okay.
So it was, and it gave me the opportunity to work on. I finished my bachelor's while I was there. They gave me an opportunity to do my master's for free while I was there. So they had a program that allowed me to do my MBA. So there was a lot of things I learned there, a lot of management things, a lot of leadership things, a lot I learned from Johnny while I was there. And it was a really good building opportunity for me to kind of get my corporate mind around how, I think like 5,000 people work there or something crazy like that. So it gave me an idea of like what a corporate environment looks like, and also told me things that I don't want to do when I start a company, things I don't want to, utilize. So it was a really good opportunity for me being there.
So when you cut ties with them, did you just like throw out your shingle and all systems go, or did you do this part-time?
Yeah. So the in my mind, so this kind of gets into a lot of the politics of that organization. I had seen the writing on the wall that we were going to get outsourced.
Oh.
I had a suspicion. There was a big shakeup that happened, and John, you can jump in and correct me if I'm missing any details here. But there was a shakeup that had happened, and I was like, okay, this is probably because this person was in the way of them outsourcing our division over to India. And when that happened, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to start my company now with the hopes that by the time this occurs, I will be big enough to go off on my own and not feel a financial hit.
Yeah.
So in 2018, I started writing all these plans. In 2019, we opened for business, and I was still there full-time doing this part-time from home. And that gave me a big enough client base. So then in October, November, December timeframe, when they announced that we were being outsourced, that I could jump ship, which I did in December, and do this full time. Scary as it was, we were not ready.
Mm-hmm.
Revenue was not all there, but it gave me a chance to sink into it full time and make it there.
Yeah. You probably got there quicker because you were doing it full time.
Absolutely. And then if you're tracking with the dates, 2019.
Yeah, I'm
and
right
then
there.
in February of 2020.
Like 12th or 14th. No, it was March. Yeah.
It was like March 14th.
Yeah, it was March 14th. I think you're right.
Yeah, never forget it. I was in my office, and I had call after call after call from our clients saying, hey, we have to stop. We have to stop. We have to stop. Because of
Budget
the fear
panic.
of, yes.
I remember wondering if I would ever make another dollar. I panicked too.
We lost 50% of our volume in 30 days.
Yeah. But then how long, how high did that, like I'm imagining a graph, right? This plummet and then a way overcompensation because now people have to figure out a way.
Yes. And what we did was we shifted a lot of our marketing and advertising to website development. And we did, I don't know the exact number, Chris would know. I think it was, we did like 60 something websites in 2020.
Is that a lot without any metrics?
For both of us, yeah, that was a lot for a newer company. Just as a frame of reference, there's an agency that we've been tracking with. They've been around 5 years. They've built 100 in that 5 years, and we've built 150 in just under 2.
Oh, wow.
So our development process is really fast.
So you can build me a website too.
Yep.
You guys, the notes really do say just take more money.
Yes, that's the name of this podcast, is a clever way to take Rachel's money, episode 61.
Well, it's working. Good job.
Nailed it. So
I'm going to make you be a guest on my podcast
right?
so you'll sell your house.
Yes.
Is that how this works?
We'll switch seats. We'll see how it goes. So that was, and then as the year went on, I hired 2 full-time employees as we hit that.
And we're still in 2020.
In 2020. As we hit that bottom in June, I hired 2 full-time employees.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we're just going to roll the dice. We're going to trust.
And at this time, it's you plus 2?
It's me and John Stone, who runs the Louisville office, or who was running, I guess at the time, like the speakeasy there had just opened in February.
Okay. So that was your first location, was in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Nice.
So as that was opening and we were getting prepared, COVID hit, the lockdowns happened in Louisville, and we couldn't have in-person anything. So our technical launch for the Louisville speakeasy was then pushed to like October of 2020. And it was in November. There's a lot of crazy stuff that happened in 2020.
Yeah.
Like I had, so in November, I started scouting locations for Brighton because I was like, well, I think we can start opening a location. I had a client that had written a deal, did a contract. He was going to pay me a year in advance for all of his services and move from his marketing company to ours. Yep. It was like $70,000.
Yeah. So
right.
You've got no cash flow problems at this point in history, theoretically.
Well, I signed the lease on this place, and he pulled the deal.
Yep, I saw this coming.
So
you did not agree to prepay this lease up front, I hope.
Like for the year?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No. I did not.
Okay.
So
well, at least you had that.
Yes.
You got time on your side.
So they pulled that, and I was like, all right, well, we're in a bit of a struggle here. And my estimation for what this place would cost to build ended up being about 5 times more. Because I'm dumb, and I'm not a construction guy. That's not my job.
Yeah, take back the "I'm dumb" comment, but I'll give you the rest. Yeah, you just don't know.
I'm just not a construction guy, So all these things were kind of stacking up against us, and every time we hit a barrier, it's like, well, we'll just power through it. Like we'll figure it out. We're not going to stop. This is a lot of fun, and everyone enjoys this, so we're going to keep on keeping on.
I mean, that fail forward, right?
Right.
I love it.
Exactly right. And a bigger thing is, as we were going through this, everything was a learning opportunity. Everything was a new procedure. Everything was a new policy. Everything was a better way to do it. And every time we hit a failure, it was like, well, let's analyze this down to, basically down to the atom of what happened, and let's rebuild something around it so it can be more successful.
Yeah.
So 2020 was a very good year for learning, creating. And then 2021, as we're finishing up this year, we grew from 4 or 5 people to 13 now. And
employees, you mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
And we are now in a position where, we're getting ready to open another one in Ann Arbor.
You are?
Yep. So,
did I not talk to you about this already?
No.
Yes.
Oh, you did?
I said I want to open one.
Like,
how can I be on the investor side of this venture?
All right, let's talk about it.
If there's room for that.
There's always room for that.
Okay.
But as we're growing, it's just crazy, like how every time we've hit a wall, we've had a tremendous opportunity presented on the other side of it.
You know why?
Yes.
Why? What do you got? Because I
Well,
know what I want to say.
Oh, well, I am Christian, so I like to think that God works out all things to people that have faith in that process. So
I will align with that comment and add that you take ownership.
yes,
Just to go right back to the beginning.
and that's where that principle comes from. Is just having this sense of always wanting to make sure you're doing well to others, and I think that's why we continue to have the success that we do. Is because at the end of the day, it's not about me.
Yep.
It's about the community that we're building.
Yep.
And I feel like a lot of this podcast is talking about me, which was not the original goal, Rachel.
I mean, I am interested in others. So
I understand. One of the more unique reasons I wanted you on the show was just because you've approached things from a very different way than other realtors. Do you remember the first time we met?
no, and I will take that comment as a compliment, but I don't. And you've already referenced it once, and I've been racking my fucking brains because I know it had to be at what is the brain place, downtown Howell? That
Frontal lobe.
Frontal lobe, thank you. And you said that, and I was like, shit, why don't I remember this conversation? So please tell me.
Yeah, so you had an office at Frontal lobe.
Did. I loved it there.
We had a...
Were you in front?
Not an office. We had the co-working
Up by the big
spot.
windows in the
Yes,
front.
Yes. So it was like $100 a month or something like that.
Yeah.
And I met you there, and you asked, well, what do you do? And I told you it was Wayne Consulting Group at the time.
Okay.
And you said, well, I need help organizing all this shit that I have going on, verbatim.
Sounds like something I would say.
And you pointed to this file folder that you had of all these different deals that were on the table. And I said, I'm sure we can chat and work something out down the road, whenever you're ready. And we did.
Here we are.
And we did. It was way down the road.
Yeah.
Because then you had texted me a while back, and then you went overseas, right?
Yes, I did go overseas.
Yeah.
I had just gotten back from London and Paris, like 2 weeks, like not that by the skin of my teeth, but just before the lockdown.
Okay. Yeah, because right before the lockdown, we had talked very briefly, and then
I remember seeing that when I texted you from the KW office. You came in to do a presentation. I texted you, and I was like, "Oh shit, I already talked to this guy."
Yeah. Yep. And I just figured, and that's kind of my biggest sales advice for people is like, what's the benefit of me calling you every week and saying, "Hey, Rachel, when are we working together? When are we doing this?" Like, you're going to get to it when you want, and that's going to make things better.
Yeah. I agree. Conceptually, that is so right. And rabbit traily me says, it's really hard for me to know when to follow up. I always want to follow up. I've finally gotten to the point where I say to my clients, do you want me to follow up with you? Because I'm not going to breathe down your neck about this.
Yeah.
When is an appropriate time for me to bug you if you want that?
Yep. Which is all the sales books will tell you that's a bad
Money's
idea.
in the follow-up.
Yeah.
Keep bugging them. Eventually they'll cave.
What I tell people, which is not what most people I think would want you to say, is I am very busy. Mm-hmm. I respect your time, just like I assume you respect mine.
I'm going to lick my pen
yes.
again and say what now?
So I tell people
I can just go listen.
Yeah, you can just listen
I don't
to
need
it.
to
You can listen to
take
it back.
these silly
Yeah,
notes.
we're recording, I hope.
Okay.
So I tell them I'm very busy. I know you're very busy. I respect your time like I hope you respect mine. Here's the mechanisms I have for the follow-up. I have a calendar link that you can schedule an appointment on, and it syncs to my calendar. And then you have my cell phone number, you have my email, and you have my assistant's email. Any of those four are appropriate for you to follow up on. So you tell me when is a good time, and we'll make it happen.
So it was calendar, email, and what else?
So calendar, email, and my cell phone number.
Okay. And you actually have time to check your email, or your assistant does.
Yes, yes, that's accurate. So that's the biggest thing is kind of my inbox is my makeshift to-do list.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest thing is I respect their time when we're here, and if they're not going to follow up with me unprompted, they're probably not going to match that communicative C in our qualifying process.
Or they're not ready.
Right, exactly.
Because really,
right.
even though I knew I needed you, I wasn't in a position to hire you or do anything about it.
Right.
Right? You got to be ready.
Yeah.
And because then look what happened when I was ready.
Yep.
I was like, oh, yep, I need that guy. Hi, take my money. And here we are.
And I bet.
And there was no drip campaign, no follow-up bullshit. Like,
No. And I bet if I'm being 100% transparent and honest, we wouldn't have been as valuable to you if you would have signed up with us when we first talked.
Nope. I probably would have been mad.
Exactly.
Like your video guy that you talked about.
Exactly.
I didn't have a desired outcome and I just hired you.
Exactly.
And I'd be mad because I wasn't getting the secret results that even I didn't know I was looking for.
Exactly. So everything happens in due time. And that's why I'm not a big proponent of like pushing a sale.
Same.
Because they're going to be a pain. They're going to be a pain in the ass if you elongate or force something that shouldn't happen.
Exactly. And you're bringing me back to real estate. I never sell a house.
Yeah.
I will take you through the houses and you will fall in love with one. And my job is to help you win that one on terms that work for you, but not to talk you into this house because you told me you want 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and 2 acres. And I show you all of those. And what you actually go for is a 5-bedroom colonial on a postage stamp lawn. It almost never matches what your mouth tells me.
Right. Because as you get out there, you learn different things.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I do like this.
And what I would have told you I needed or what I would have told you I was looking for is different than what you showed me I needed.
Exactly.
Which is what I got out of your KW presentation.
And that is a new development for me, I will say, as a business leader, is I am not your yes man. Mm-hmm. If you want a yes man, go work with another company. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what I think you need. And if you can articulate why I'm wrong, I'm happy to own that and be wrong. But I'm going to give you my best advice. And you might say, hey, I have a $3,000 a month budget. Well, don't spend it if you don't need to, because you might be a $1,500 a month person or a $2,000 a month person. But like, just because you tell me your budget is $40K a year, you might not need to spend it all. And that's a good thing for you.
Yes.
You take that other 10 and invest it in your people or your business or your shop or whatever it is.
Yes.
But I'm not in the business of, hey, what's your budget? Well, hey, guess what your monthly contract is? Like, that's annoying.
It matches my budget. I did it. Oh, you just triggered a memory. And I don't even know why I'm telling this story, but I did a marketing thing with a company who shall remain unnamed, who said, hey, and I was being nice, right? I was new to being successful enough to have a cushion. Like I come from, we're $30 short for the next paycheck, right? Like I have a lot of that under my belt.
Yeah.
That's going to make me cry because I like to pretend that's not true, but it's fucking true. So I was new to having no cash flow problems.
Yeah.
And this person was like, hey, I can do XYZ for you. And we worked out a deal and I was like, how much is it? And I can't believe I fucking hired her because she was like, oh, it's this much. And she based the rate she charged me on her belief of what my commission was going to be. So referencing our earlier conversation on that $300,000 house, people at first blush think I make $18,000. So she was charging me a percentage of her belief of what I was making on the sale of this property. And because I liked her and felt like supporting her new business, because I'm a sucker for a new business.
Yeah.
Like community is my jam. She was part of the community, blah, blah, blah. Her product, she was new at what she was doing, so her product and delivery wasn't that great. No results were garnered out of the deal except I learned the lesson. I learned the thing. And it's relevant because the story that you're telling is that you're not like, hey, what's your budget? Let's spend it all.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, what's your vision? Let's figure out which pieces we need to plug in to get you where you want to go.
Yep.
And that's different conversations.
Well, yeah, it's like when I go and buy a vehicle, right? I might have a $30,000 budget for a truck, right? Do I need to spend 30?
Right.
I mean, probably now I do because that's
now you're not getting anything for 30
Right,
grand. Sorry.
Right. But it's this idea of, are you working for me? Are you working with me? Are you working beside me? Like, what is this relationship like?
Yes.
And for us, like I've always wanted transparency. So all of our pricing online. I haven't published any of this yet, but I've researched 25 marketing companies. Whatever Google says of the top 25 marketing companies or Clutch or Good Company, which by the way, Wayne Media is not in there. I looked at 8 different categories of marketing companies. Do they have more than 10 reviews? Do they post on socials? Do they follow their own policy? Do they have a bio?
What do you mean by do they follow their own policy?
So, Rachel, I recommend that you post on social media for awareness.
Oh, do I take my own fucking advice?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, do we post on, or do they post on social media? Do they post on Google My Business? Do they reply to every Google review? So I looked at 8 different categories. None of the 25 companies put a lick of pricing on their website.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that.
0 out of 25.
They won't give you people, but they also won't give you the information that you need.
Yeah, I forget. I have all of the.
Contact us for a free quote. Yeah, call me and I'll decide what I charge while we're on the phone.
Yeah, I actually have the stats right here. 52% of the 25 companies have bios online, some type of personal information, so half. 0% have pricing. 60% had a social post within the last 14 days.
60?
60%.
That's sad.
40% have more than 10 Google reviews. 28% respond to their Google reviews. 48% have a portfolio or work page where you can see work that they've done. 72% have detailed services, and 20% post on Google My Business.
So detailed services, that's like laying out what they exactly do.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, instead of saying we do marketing.
Yeah.
Because that's just a bucket.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
So that was the category people were most consistent in, was detailed services, which makes sense.
What was the last one?
20% post to their Google business profile.
Okay.
20%.
I mean, I'm not judging because I don't even.
You're not a marketing company.
I'm not. Well, but I have to know market. I market houses.
No, I understand that. But when you're a marketing company and you're saying, hey, it's really important to post to Google business profiles,
yeah,
but you don't do it,
yeah,
what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know,
what
are you doing over there?
Yeah.
So when I was looking at it, I was like, well, Wayne Media is 8 for 8. And this was not a rigged game. I set the categories before I looked at the companies.
Okay.
So, and we have been hit and miss on social media at times. And in the last quarter, we've put a really good emphasis on it. So it's not like we are perfect and we make mistakes and we lose clients and we've failed. But my point is, you have all these marketing companies that are ranked and they don't even take their own advice.
Yeah.
They don't even try and put a positive profile out there because they have 2 reviews and they've been in business 10 years.
And I don't understand. How do you not put your pricing on your website?
I never understand that.
Is everything a custom a la carte?
Like what we do is
build?
We have ballpark calculators. Here's what your ballpark is going to be, just so you know if you're qualified or not.
Yeah. And
then call us. Everything's going to look different for every company, but at least give someone a starting point.
Well, without any context, I don't know if it's $100 a month or $20,000 a month. Like literally in the dark, without some ballpark, I don't know if I even should call you.
Right.
Not you, but you get what I'm saying. There are other items that I shop for online where I run into this and I immediately go find someone else. Right. A good example, and it's a marketing. How funny. It's not a marketing company, but when I look for, I've been looking for these, I'm going to say this, maybe somebody out there knows where I can find them. I've been looking for these hoodies with print in the hood. I bought one at a Cracker Barrel in like Missouri, and I love it. And I need someone to make them for me. And Lord knows I keep finding all of these companies that will make me a sweatshirt, but nobody will tell me, it's like contact us. All roads lead to, you must submit the form. You must submit the form. I don't want to fucking submit the form. I need to know if you can do the thing first. I need to know how much it is. Submit the form.
And it's this idea that marketing companies will talk about the importance of video, the importance of content.
They have no video.
Yeah, so I went through and I went to Louisville because that's where our videographer is at. He works out of our Louisville office and travels to Michigan, and he'll do like a week of shooting in Michigan every month or something. And we'll have, I had this setup where I said, hey, we have like 11 services I want to highlight. I'm going to make a video for all 11 services and just kind of give people an intro to me, how I operate, how I speak, kind of our company DNA, and we're going to coordinate that with every service that we do. So I made like, I forget, it's like 8 or 11 videos. Can't remember the total number, and then each one of those videos is now on the website on each service page. People can click on it, watch, and then read about all of our services.
So if I'm looking at your video offerings, or then I can watch a video about videos.
Yep.
Okay.
And then like, if you go to the website page, you can see 3 main things: a video about our website process, a video about our website calculator, where you can type in the number of pages you need, the copywriting you need, and it'll spit out a price too. Nice. And then you can actually play with that calculator below that video. There's no paywall. There's no put your email in to get the price.
I hate that.
Because if I need your email in order to sell you, then I'm not doing a very good job.
Well, if you have my email address, know that I don't look there for anything other than documents I already know I need.
Yep.
Like I've never been a fan of the drip campaign. Bullshit.
I'm not a fan, and that's why, like, when I hear people saying, "Well, you're a marketing company. Why aren't you doing, large scale email marketing and buying lists?" And I was thinking, because I don't care about how everyone else is doing it.
Well, and a lot of that seems to be. It makes me think about like racing to the bottom. Like if there are 30 other people emailing this client base about the same freaking product, why would you even want to get in that mix? I don't want to get in that pit of, I don't know. It's like a dirty pit. I just don't want anything to do with it.
Exactly. And it's this mindset of everyone is doing it this way, therefore.
Yeah. Inherited cultural conversations much?
Yes. And if we've had success doing this, why wouldn't I keep on that same path? And until it stops working and I need to call an audible, we're going to keep on that same path.
And it's also in alignment with what you think needs to happen, because just because that's the way it's been done, or just because the way you're doing it now seems to be working, you seem open to tweak and adjust and rethink and reframe. And I feel like I did this a couple of days ago, but I'm reading Fooled by Randomness by Nassim Taleb. And my biggest takeaway is a direct quote from that book, which is, "Things that have never happened before happen all the time."
Yep.
So looking at what we've always done is dumb. Slavery used to be what we've always done, just as a reference point. It's stupid.
Yeah, exactly. You have the system of like, things have always been done that way. And my thought is, if we have a successful model that we're open to change, we're open to influence, we're open to ideas, and that process is working, and all these variables are pieces of that, then let's not change that.
Right. While you're talking, I'm thinking that what you're talking about is literally allowing the context that you're operating in to inform how you're operating, which is really like making an organism. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the game plan, I don't know what your plan is for real estate. I know you're working on a team, you're building a team.
Yes.
My game plan is to put something in place that can be self-sufficient and that doesn't have to revolve around it came from Rob's head.
Yes.
It needs to be written down, processed, proceduralized, and executed based on my philosophy of how I think business ought to run.
My hope is to teach people how to think about real estate so that the professionals can do that better, and that the homeowner who wants to do it for themselves can also do that better.
Yeah, exactly right. So that's my game plan, is to have a system in place that can outlive me needing to be here 40 hours a week.
Yes, it's not the Rob Show.
No. And it shouldn't be. And that's why I am trying to make a conscious effort to get all of our people featured on social media, get more people involved in the podcasting, just have more awareness on what other things people are doing.
Yeah.
Because if it lives and dies with me, it's not really a good model.
No. And it's really impressive that at such a young age you have that.
We're getting there.
Well, at least you're like talking about it. It's living over there.
Yeah.
It's on your radar.
Because when you start, like, it's always going to live and die with you. Sure, that, there's nothing's been documented, right? But the game plan is for it to be able to operate. Like for me, if I can take a week off and things aren't on fire,
Yeah.
pretty good spot.
Yes.
You know? So that's kind of been my, I guess my goal of, yes, we've gotten to this point where I can leave for a short time.
It also allows you to not have burnout and not have you always have to, my brain just serves me things while I'm talking, while you're talking. And what I'm thinking of is my daughter. I have an adult disabled daughter who's now living on her own. And there were a lot of years where I had to be in charge of everything. And I love her. And it was exhausting.
Yeah.
And there is where I really started to learn the value of delegating, not sweating the small stuff, and setting something up that's going to work even if I can't. Because the truth is, I'm going to be dead someday, and she's likely to still be alive, and her environment has to work. Same with my business.
Yeah.
I don't want to hate it. I don't want to hate my clients because I'm the one who's doing every goddamn thing.
Yeah. You don't want to be in a position where every decision has to go through you. Oh. And the most, kind of circle back to the beginning of our chat on extreme ownership.
Yes.
The most important chapter of that book to me is decentralized command.
Yeah.
Can you put people in place to make effective decisions without you?
Yes.
If you can do that, then you have I'll call it, you have the signs of a healthy business. Not that that's the end all be all.
But it's a critical piece.
Yes, absolutely. A business can't be there without it. A stable business, we'll call it a successful business. So that's always been a big thing do we have stability there? So, man, a lot of ground covered today.
Yes, I love it. I love the deep dives. They're my favorite.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you taking my time. This was a lot of fun.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And we'll have you back for sure. There's a lot more conversations. Unfortunately, Chris couldn't be here. He's actually off today. He normally co-hosts with me.
Oh.
So that would have been a fun element.
Wait, is that you mentioned
Chris
him.
is our web developer.
That's right. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I've not met him.
Yeah, so he started hosting with me right around episode 56. I think this is 61.
Okay.
62.
Really? Do I have more episodes than you?
Oh yeah.
I do. Not by many, by like 4.
I'm trying to catch up.
Double down.
Yes. So that's always a fun dynamic when he's here as well, because he has a really unique perspective on, as someone that's not an owner of a business, but someone that has been a key piece.
Yeah.
As it's grown, I always appreciate his insight. So he's definitely missed today, but next time you're on, he'll definitely be here.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to it. I'm coming back.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Rachel.
All right. I love it. Thanks.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this week's edition of Waynecast. Appreciate y'all listening. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.